is we're going to talk about some of the big political stories in just a second, but we've been doing that all morning anyway, so let's do something slightly different. This is massive on Twitter. It is a call to Muslims let's get this right. It's a call to a reminder for Muslims about the dangers of getting involved in Christmas celebrations. This has gone viral on social media. Have a look at this.
Oh my God, you look so cute. Right here. Okay. MashaAllah, adorable.
Assalamu alaikum, guys.
Walaikum assalam.
Are you guys celebrating Christmas?
Sure are.
Beautiful lights, Christmas vibes, it's the best. You do know by celebrating Christmas, you're agreeing that Allah has a son, right? Dad? Is that true?
No, baby, that's not our intentions. So it's okay to celebrate it. Don't listen to her. She's being extreme.
Actually, by participating in this holiday, you're accepting that Allah was born today. But Dad, that's totally haram.
Unbelievable. Why you gotta make Islam so difficult, huh?
This clip is going viral because it exposes a collision nobody wants to handle honestly: religion, national identity, and political power. What starts as a debate about Christmas quickly becomes a much bigger argument about who Britain is being asked to change for, and who is told to stay silent. This isn't about offense. It's about authority, culture, and who gets to define the rules of public life.
Well, what do you make of that, Emma? Because, of course, Christmas is not a Muslim festival and a lot of Muslims will decide not to celebrate it. But do you really have to put a mean, joy-killing video out like that to say, don't celebrate Christmas, don't do it, because it means Allah's got a son? What's wrong with these people?
To do things like put up trees and participate in the general festivities, even if they don't believe. And that's the sort of thing that you should do if you're integrating into a society that you've moved to. And frankly, I think if a particular family or individual doesn't want to integrate into the culture of this country, then they simply shouldn't be here. This really is a sort of modern Scrooge tale, isn't it? That it's sort of bar humbug. How dare you even have any kind of involvement in the general festivities and culture of this country? And I imagine that there will be some Muslims who will be looking at this. It's obviously the reason why it's been made, feeling as if they're being called out and harangued into a much more extreme interpretation of their religion.
Yeah, you got a nice dad there with his daughter, who obviously, like all kids, love Christmas, whether or not they're Muslims or Jews. Kids love Christmas. You get free presents, all that. So you got a nice dad helping his little girl celebrate a fun time of year. And then out comes another little girl saying, don't do that. Don't do that. I mean, come on.
It also gets worse. It gets worse as the video goes on, because it has this, like I say, like a Charles Dickens-esque vision of the future, of what will happen to this little girl if her father continues to celebrate Christmas with her. And shock horror, she takes her hijab off because how dare she expose her hair? It really is extreme.
What's really happening here is not a theological argument. It's a struggle over belonging. The viral clip is framed as concern, but it lands as control, telling people how they should behave in public life. The reaction we see reflects a wider frustration. Many people feel that everyday cultural practices are now being treated as controversial, even suspicious. The anger isn't about faith. It's about the sense that normal life is being constantly policed and that joy itself is being reframed as a problem.
A newsreader on BBC News at 10 began the broadcast with this. Or included in the broadcast this, they were talking about Christmas. It says that this is what a BBC newsreader on a main bulletin said last week. Bethlehem is regarded as the birthplace of Jesus by Christians. This is in Britain. This is a Christian country. We have an official state religion. It's called the Church of England. And the BBC is saying things to millions of viewers like, Bethlehem is regarded as the birthplace of Jesus by Christians. Why does the BBC think that somehow or other you and I, and millions of Brits are a kind of alien culture?
Well, I mean, all you have to do is look at the recent story of the teacher who got in a lot of trouble for telling a Muslim student that Britain is a Christian country. You want to be careful, Kevin. You might get in trouble with the police for saying something like that. But look, I think that there are two aspects to this. The first is the way that it's phrased historically makes it sound as if there is some doubt over whether Jesus was born in Bethlehem, as if this is some kind
This
of...
is where the argument becomes political. The issue isn't belief, it's language. When national institutions speak with hesitation about their own history, people notice. The public reaction isn't driven by hostility toward other religions. It's driven by the perception that Christianity is being treated as awkward, outdated, or even embarrassing. That creates an us versus them feeling, not between religions but between ordinary citizens and elite institutions that seem uncomfortable acknowledging the country they serve.
Some kind of belief rather than, as you would say, any historical figure was born in a certain place. So they're injecting a kind of doubt in there. But then, as you say, Kevin, it's this constant attempt to place Christianity alongside other religions as if all religions have contributed equally to the country that we now live in. We are still a country that has an established church, and I think long may that continue. But the idea that Christianity should be placed alongside other religions as if they are sort of equal with respect to British history, I just think is wrong.
Yeah, it totally is. The BBC sort of leading the charge into turning British Christians into some kind of alien race. Really weird.
Yeah, the amount of money this was going to raise initially was pittance. The amount of money that this is going to raise now is only 300 million. I think that's probably less than it costs to run the NHS for a day. So, I think it's good news that they have increased the threshold because so many of these farmers are not going to be affected by it. I don't think it goes far enough. Farming equipment and land and all of those assets are worth so much money, but those are tools for people to do their jobs. They shouldn't be taxed in this way. It's not actually very difficult. Never mind the previous threshold. It's not difficult to reach that 2.5 million threshold just on farm equipment alone for a reasonable family size, a reasonably sized family-run farm. And the fact is that this policy has already cost lives. There was a story in today's Telegraph about how one of these farmers already committed suicide because he was worried about the threats of this government bringing this inheritance tax in. He wanted to make sure that his children would be able to continue the family farm.
Let me just sorry to interrupt, but I know of that story. You're talking about the father of a Yorkshire farmer, a good guy called Jonathan Charlesworth, who I've interviewed a couple of times. And as he's saying today, this policy came too late for my family because his father, who was known as Phil Charlesworth, real name John, took his own life in order to spare his family what would have been a 20% tax burden when they inherited the farm. So he took his own life before the policy came in. So as he's saying today, well, it's too late for my family. And Keir Starmer last week conceded.
This is the moment where culture wars meet lived reality. Political indecision isn't abstract. It creates fear, instability, and in this case, tragedy. When policies are announced, reversed, and softened repeatedly, people lose trust and clarity. For farming communities, that uncertainty became unbearable. This isn't just a failure of economics. It's a failure of responsibility. And that's why this moment matters politically, because when leadership lacks conviction, the consequences fall on ordinary families, not the people in power.